America is the greatest country the planet has ever seen, bar none. I believe that. I know there are those currently that do not believe. In fact, they would vehemently disagree with that statement, that America is somehow or another exceptional. I believe that's because many believe the Constitution is not a great document, but it is a charter of negative liberties. It restrains the government from inflicting itself on the people. It keeps the people free to make their own choices. They believe it fails to address redistributive change. They now like to call it social justice. Are there problems facing America? You bet there are. But it seems all we ever hear are the complaints about what's wrong with America. I believe that's the wrong question. We should be asking, if we wanted to fix our country, what makes America great? What made her great in the first place? Tonight, I want to answer that question, because I believe if you can answer that question, therein lies the solution. What makes America great? There are many things that might make us great. Maybe it's all the stuff we have, the gadgets and technology, or the clothes and the cars and the big houses. Compared to the rest of the world, we have far more stuff, on average, than anyone else has ever had in the history of mankind. Is that what makes us exceptional? Is that what makes us great? How about our ability to communicate? Think about how powerful the words of the average citizen is today. Just a couple of weeks ago, as I was thinking about this morning, I thought about the 13-year-old kid in the Pacific Northwest. He made a comment warning that he thought suicide bombers would come after President Obama. And the very next day, after posting it on his Facebook, the next day, the Secret Service were at his school interrogating him. Man's words have never had more power than they do today. Ever. Is that what makes us great? Or is it our transportation system? Or how about our banking and monetary system? It's state-of-the-art, best of the world. Is it our infrastructure? What about America makes it exceptional? Well, I'm going to give you a controversial answer. I believe the answer lies here. This is a video from a Dunkin' Donuts that's located in a historic district here in New York, Greenwich Village. This is a flash mob of about a dozen youths. They descended on the store, clearly premeditated, and they started terrorizing employees. One said it was like an earthquake. The tables were destroyed. A $2,000 hot chocolate machine was trashed. They climbed on the counter while others threw tables and chairs. And yet, they left the cash in the cash register. They just grabbed what they wanted. They terrorized the place. They broke it up, and without a care in the world, they left. For their kicks, or because they got theirs, or who knows why. The answer of what makes America great also lies here, where a helpless victim lies on the floor having a seizure while she's being videotaped, and no one does anything. What makes America great? Well, the answer lies here, where people watch in silence and cheer on as a fight over a meaningless incident rages on. What makes America great? The answer lies here, with a group of people who planned a fight between two teenage girls in a remote location. Look at the people standing around. They do nothing. No one thought this was a bad idea. And when the mom of one of the kids involved in the fight shows up, she doesn't stop them. She encourages her child. Keep fighting. Don't stop. That's her 16-year-old daughter. That's a girl that she used to hold in her arms. And she's not only allowing it, she's coaching her to hit more. I said this was a controversial statement because this is where you'll find America's greatness. You see where this is heading? If you've ever read this book, you do know. This is de Tocqueville, Democracy in America. The first half of it is fantastic, it's happy. The second half gets a little dark because he starts to make predictions of what's going to happen. De Tocqueville was a Frenchman. I don't like a lot of Frenchmen. I don't think I like any of them, but I like this one. He was seeking the answer to that question. What makes America great? Our president or anybody else can deny American exceptionalism, but history teaches us, even the French recognize the truth, that America is great. It's what motivated the French to give us the Statue of Liberty, the Colossus of Rhodes, with a beacon of freedom, a mighty woman with a torch whose flame is the imprisoned lightning. So is that flame there in her hand? Is that freedom? Because if that's what makes us great, maybe that's what explains those fights. Because we're being taught that it's freedom. And so we have plenty of that. I've got rights. Who are you to tell me? That's freedom. And just like the glorious democracy, freedom can mean anything and everything. It all just depends on who's at the wheel. If you've heard the phrase before, America is great because America is good, you know de Tocqueville. America is great because America is good, with the warning, if America ceases to be good, America will cease to be great. The answer to why is America great is in those videos. Where is the goodness here? And not just from the ones hitting and yelling, but how about those just standing around? How about those doing nothing as someone falls into a seizure? Except they are doing one thing, they're videotaping it. How about those who don't even call someone for help? These are all extreme examples. But I know I have, and I'm pretty sure you have, experienced something where the line of right and wrong is being challenged, and you think someone is going to say something and then no one does, and so you stand there too. It's the exception, not the rule, but today it seems to become more and more the rule. Those people who stand around. The exception is those who will stand up and do the right thing. There are many reasons why this has happened. But it really doesn't matter. If America is to be great, no regulation can fix us. She must become good again. The question is, how do we become good? The answer is so politically incorrect, and nobody wants to hear it or talk about it or admit it anymore, but it's true. Our founders said religion would do that. The left will tell you, no, no, no. No, our founders, they weren't religious, but that's BS. But they weren't preaching one church or the other. That's for you to decide. Ben Franklin was asked by the president of Yale, what is, Mr. Franklin, the American religion? This is what he answered. I believe in one God, the creator of the universe, that he governs by his providence, that he ought to be worshiped, that the most acceptable service we can render to him is to do good to his other children, that the soul of man is immortal and will be treated with justice in another life, respecting its conduct in this. These I take to be the fundamental principles of all sound religion. So let me go over again. The American religion is there is a God, that he's active, he cares about what's going on, we should worship him, and the best way to do that is to do good to his other children, and that justice comes later. Well, how many of these have we flipped around or forgotten about or dismissed? There's social justice. There'll be justice today. We don't believe in God anymore. We don't go to church or worship him. And if we don't do those things, then we lose the key to what America is great for. We lose the key because we stop serving one another and we just start to serve ourselves. The best way to worship is to do good to his fellow creations. Even atheists should be able to get on board with this philosophy, just helping each other. It's universal, and it is what makes America great. It's what makes her good. That's why I believe we were so moved when we saw the Japanese people in the midst of a horrific natural disaster that wiped out huge swaths of the country. They inspired us with their calm and their patience and their dignity. There wasn't any looting there. Japan was great because Japan was good. Now, if you're looking for hope and evidence that America will be great again, then I suggest you look no further than Joplin, Missouri. I sent my own team of film crew down. I wanted to go myself, but they said I would cause more of a problem being there than a help. I wanted to document their stories, so we did. Joplin is good. The stories coming in of neighbors and complete strangers doing whatever they can to help are inspiring us even more. This woman, she's from the New Faith Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama. She's saying exactly, almost word for word, what Ben Franklin taught us.
God provide them help like we've had here. It's been awesome how God has poured out His blessings. How we serve God is we serve our fellow man. And that's what we're trying to do at our little church here.
Dick Gerdes, he is a furniture salesman. My camera's caught up with him, and he said he decided he had to help. He lives nearby. His house was one of the few spared. He didn't exactly know how to help. He just grabbed what supplies he had laying around and he headed into the wreckage. He and a few others who did the same set up a kind of a station, if you will. They helped organize and collect and then hand out the supplies to their neighbors. And then they found something else happen. More and more people just kept coming with supplies. The citizens of Joplin brought water and diapers and food, whatever they had. He eventually secured a semi-trailer truck and filled it to the brim. Then there's a young pastor, Kyle Rogers. He organized people from his church. They stuffed their trailer and vans full of clothes, something you wouldn't necessarily think of, but houses were so devastated that many were left with only the outfit that they were wearing at the time. They packed up and made a 45-minute trip to Joplin from neighboring Kansas. When they got there, people began showing up, and they didn't even have shoes or even a blanket. And the crowd kept growing. A local business pitched in. They set up tables and areas for people to help. More people.
The lesson is that, God is in control and that He's not abandoning these people. But also another lesson is that people are coming out to help. That, people are seeing a need and they're coming out. The support and the people that are coming out is overwhelming. I think probably more than anything what I've learned is that life can change in an instant and just how good people are to respond.
This is why I no longer worry about politics or the impending economic collapse that I think we're being steered into. I no longer am looking for anybody else to give us any answers. Ben Franklin gave us the answer. De Tocqueville gave us the answer. Honestly, you look at the devastation in Missouri, and then you look at the results, people being good. I mean, why fear anything? Because if this, total strangers helping each other out and lifting each other up and becoming who they really truly are, if this is the worst that can happen after devastation, I'm not worried about our country. I'm not worried about an economic collapse. I keep thinking of this book, The Tale of Two Cities. I always understood the premise of this book intellectually. But I think in the last couple of years, I can understand it with my heart. The opening paragraph of The Tale of Two Cities, you've probably heard the opening line a million times. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the epic of belief. It was the epic of incredulity. It was the season of light and the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope and the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven, or we were all going direct the other way. I don't know. I think I actually read the cliff notes of this book because it's like healthcare bill long, and I think it's long because it's the epic story of struggle, and that's where we are now. We are in an epic struggle. Keep a journal. Tell your children, because now we are in the fight of good and evil, right and wrong, survival versus destruction. Which one will you choose? A guy who's influenced the last 15 months of my life, and quite honestly, Eric Metaxas wrote one of the best biographies of him ever written, and I told him, actually, he was over at my house a couple of weeks ago, and I said, Eric, I haven't been able to finish it, because he corrected me on a couple of facts. And I said, Eric, I put the book down. He said, why? And I said, it's too personal. I can't finish it. But he has affected my life. I have told you this line many times on this program before. Silence in the face of evil is evil itself, and God will not hold us guiltless. None of us were born without a reason. None of us were born to sit back and relax and just watch the show. Wonder what's on the tube? What's happening? We're all here for a reason, for a purpose. We all are a puzzle piece. We all have a role to play. And the more we all just hang out and say, not my problem, where's the government, let somebody else fix it, the more we'll have of this, and more we'll see this happen. Our neighbors, many of them, may have been unplugged for some time, and it's going to be uncomfortable for them to re-engage. It's going to feel like a massive change, but it's not. The good news here is we don't have to change. We're already the people we want to be. It's not a change. It's just a reminder of who we really are. It's a reminder of right and wrong. They're already embedded in each and every one of us. It's written on our heart. And it's different here. Maybe it's written in a bolder pen, because America has been exceptional for a long time. America is great because America has always been good. All we need to do is recognize what makes us great, and then stand up and be good. Strangers and neighbors in Joplin, and I believe it can not only help the people in Missouri, but it can inspire the country to dig back inside of themselves. You'll notice that the people of Joplin were not crying tears of joy because FEMA trucks showed up. It was the people, it was the neighbors, it was average Americans who just did the right thing and acted quickly. They didn't sit there and wonder, when's the government coming to send help? And people were helping not because they were told to, but because they felt it. They wanted to, not mandated like a government agency. This is real charity, and there is a huge difference. Others will turn a blind eye to American exceptionalism, and they do so because they don't believe that America is good in the first place. They don't believe she's great because Americans aren't good. Americans inherently will make selfish decisions that will hurt the collective. Uh-oh, that sounds like trouble. So they believe the best thing to do is restrain and regulate people. I believe the average American still believes the exact opposite, but that is fading. Jeremy Hoven, he is a 36-year-old Walgreen pharmacist in Michigan. He's been working the night shift since 2006, and in 2007, that Walgreens was robbed at gunpoint. But since that time, he claims the store did nothing to improve the security. So he was already a longtime gun owner. He got a concealed weapons permit, and he started carrying during his late night shifts to protect himself. Well, that paid off earlier this month when two masked gunmen burst into the store and tried to steer all of the employees into a back room. The opportunity presented itself for him to grab his gun and get a couple of shots off. He unloaded across the store at the criminals. It's believed that one gunman tried to fire back with his gun, but that gun failed. They left the store, they ran, and no one was hurt. Now, how's this story end? 10 years ago in America, I think we all know how the story ends. Today in America, well, he believes he did the right thing. Police investigating said he did the right thing. All the employees at his store who they feel he saved their life and they feel he did the right thing. So is he good or is he bad? Good or evil? Well, now, according to OSHA, he's bad. Today, he is out of a job. He was fired by Walgreens over the incident because apparently he broke the federal OSHA regulations that prohibit employees from carrying a gun while at work. Wow, when is common sense going to take place? When are people going to stand up and say, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me? They are taking away our ability to think for ourselves and protect ourselves. Fox Nation recently had an article, it was yesterday, about a conversation with Sarah Brady and President Obama. Now, Sarah Brady is the wife of Jim Brady, a guy I think is a hero. He's the poster child, however, for gun control. That's not the part I really admire. I admire the fact that he served our country honorably, and he suffered a massive head wound in the Reagan administration during the Reagan assassination attempt. His wife has been pushing for gun bans ever since. She recently spoke with President Obama, who, according to Sarah Brady, brought up gun control and said, quote, "I just want you to know that we're working on it. We have to go through a few processes, but under the radar," end quote. The President of the United States is saying we're going to do this under the radar? Now I can see why the Obama administration won the coveted Transparency Award, I guess. Does this seem like a good thing or a bad thing? To work on gun regulations that will affect millions of people and their rights under the radar, by hiding it, by lying, by cheating, under the radar in the cover of darkness. Is this the American way? Can I say the American way anymore with Superman going to the UN? Truth, justice, and the American way. America becomes great when we encourage each other to live to our highest self, our highest ideals. We should start holding up heroes and looking for role models and punishing the bad guys. If you've been watching this program for any length of time, you know that I have been, shall we say, nervous about this so-called Arab Spring. I believe people want to be free, and they want liberty. And I believe the people of the Arab world aren't any different than you and I. But from the beginning, I have had my doubts that that's what we were watching, because we are watching something that has been planned and orchestrated from the beginning. From the beginning, we have seen the seeds being sown of a deeper hatred for Jews. It began to sprout, or we started to notice it really, when al-Qaradawi, the spiritual leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, spoke to 2 million Egyptians about wanting to kill the Jews himself. It manifested itself on the Day of Liberty, so-called liberty, when the crowd of hundreds just around CBS's Lara Logan were chanting "Jew, Jew, Jew" while they were raping her and, in her words, trying to rip her scalp off. The ugly harvest of anti-Semitism has been bountiful. Yesterday, I showed you a clip from a children's show from Hamas. I want you to watch this, because we found more. I want you to watch this. This is what is being shown to children in the Arab world. Watch.
عشان هيك حبايبنا الأطفال الصهاينة المجرمين كل يوم بيخططوا بيفكروا بهدم المسجد الأقصى بالتأكيد. بتعرفوا ليش؟ عشان يبنوا بدله الهيكل المزعوم.
قد نزل عقاب الله عليهم، وكان هذا هو العقاب الذي يستحقونه. وهكذا مسخ الله أولئك العصاة إلى قردة.
يجب أن يتربى الولد على حب الجهاد والرغبة في الاستشهاد في سبيل الله، فشجرة الإسلام لا تروى بالماء وإنما تروى بالدماء.
محمودان چرا هیچ چیزی نمیاره. برو من هوا تو دارم پشتتون. برو بس برا راست ببین کوچه بعدی خودش میری وسط برج.
America, how is there any Arab Spring? Why are you not seeing these images? In the next month, I told my staff today to scour for these images. I want to show you what no one else will show you. In the next month, I am going to show you good versus evil. And you decide. This isn't about politics. This is about the end of the Western way of life. This is good versus evil. I urge you not to miss a single episode. What you will see on this program in the coming month, you will not see anywhere else. How does a child raised with a puppet show saying that, or a cartoon showing that God turned Jews into monkeys? What chance do those children have? Searing hatred is being ingrained in them from the very beginning, from the start. They have no chance to develop healthy, independent, let alone loving attitude towards their neighbors. If you raise your children on a diet of those kinds of images, they will cross a border with their mothers as children, and they will walk into gunfire so they can go to Allah and set the world on fire in the meantime. Mark my words, it is coming. The world must decide now before they see the images of what is going to be thrust upon Israel. Meanwhile, in news that nobody else seems to be reporting for some strange reason, Egypt is now forming a new Nazi party. So, Mr. President, is this what democracy looks like? Earlier this week, there were reports that a Nazi party is being formed in Egypt with a contemporary frame of reference. I don't know. Was it the uniforms that were outdated that stopped that from growing here in America? An independent Egyptian news website said they quoted founding members saying the party would bring together prominent figures from the Egyptian society. The party's founding deputy is a former military official. One of the party's leaders said that the membership has been going up at an unexpected rate. The party also has a one-year plan, which is unlike, quote, the marginalized liberal parties, which are like dead bodies. None of this should come as a big surprise. Next week, Wednesday, we will do a show on the roots of the hatred of the 20th century of the Arab world for the Jews. We will show you the Muslim Brotherhood connection to the Nazis. Even according to the Weekly Standard, they report the Muslim Brotherhood has a history, quote, of campaign against the Jews that used not only Nazi-like tactics, but also German funding, end quote. Now they're just making it official by calling it a Nazi party. Didn't we promise each other that we would never forget? And didn't we promise each other never again? How is the world ignoring what is being spoon-fed to children in the Arab world? The article goes on to say that the party membership went from hundreds to hundreds of thousands in the late 1930s. During those years, the Brotherhood conducted only one major campaign in Egypt, and it was against Zionism and the Jews. Mr. President, Was there no one in your administration that knew about the connections of the Muslim Brotherhood to the Nazi Party? Is there no one in Washington that is watching the Arab World television as much as my staff is? Mr. President, you cheerlead the Arab Spring. Now that you know that there is a developing Nazi party and you've seen the cartoons yourself, will you still cheerlead? And if you didn't know, well, may I recommend Bill Kristol's Weekly Standard for the basic facts. The reason why I was concerned about all of this happening, and I told you about this in January when Tunisia first went on fire, I told you that it would sweep the Middle East and then into Europe. That people would work together against Israel, against capitalism, overturn stability. They would cascade, sweep the Middle East, begin to destabilize Europe and the rest of the world. And gang, it is happening. And the reason why now they are concentrating this summer, we are headed now towards Memorial Day weekend. And by the time you get back, by Labor Day weekend, the world may look like a completely different place. The world, if Israel is destroyed, if Israel is split, what will happen? It's the key to the Western way of life. Now, in addition to being concerned for the Jews in Israel at the start of the Arab Spring, you may remember that I said these things and it would spread across. And those people would seek a Islamic caliphate. Palestine is the key that will unite, because remember, I was made fun of because they're Sunni and Shia, they don't agree on anything. They agree on driving the Jews into the sea. Now, days of rage are spreading. They're coming to an Arab Spring near you. And they're also throwing in an extra Nakba day just for good measure. The day of rage planned for Georgia, not our Georgia, but the former Soviet state of Georgia, on May 25th. Good news, it has been canceled. See Ticketmaster for refunds. But Kuwait is still on. May 27th in Kuwait. That's on. The Kuwaiti's interior minister warned youth activists to take their revolution outside of the city square. Apparently, government security is not going to allow the demonstration for revolution. And so they're expecting everybody not to do that. In Ethiopia on May 28th, another day of rage, government detractors have set up an online campaign calling for an Arab-style protest on Saturday, saying there is no reason why we can't have the Arab uprising in Ethiopia. May 28th is also the day Prime Minister rebels captured the capital in 1991. Yeah, it seems like it's spreading all across the Middle East, doesn't it? But wait, there's more. The Palestinians, the Third Palestinian Intifada, calling for a continuation of Nakba Day. That's happening on June 7th. This is the day Eastern Jerusalem was taken in 1967. I warn you, the Palestinian flag is going to be seen all across the Middle East. It's what will unite the Arab world and destroy Jerusalem and Israel and the Western way of life if we don't pay attention. The Nakba events prove that Palestine can be liberated by mass unarmed marches. They provide the Ummah. If the Ummah agrees, they will pay any price, even 1 million martyrs. That's what it says on their Facebook page. It's happening. And now, I said that it would cascade. It has. It would sweep the Middle East. It has. And begin to stabilize Europe. It has this last weekend. This last weekend, it started in Spain. And believe it or not, I'm running out of, I think it was our last flame. It is now going up to, it's already been in Italy and it is in Greece, but now it is starting in France. France is hosting the G8. There are going to be protests to stand in solidarity with the people in Spain who are angry about austerity programs. But watch for the Palestinian flag. You can turn a blind eye, or you can admit that there's a real problem and things are changing in our world, and you need to stand up. Join me standing with or in Israel. In Jerusalem, I will be at the southern wall of the Temple Mount. There are 3 days of events starting in August 21st. It is a peaceful gathering of like-minded people who say never again, who understand that you must stand against evil and you must stand together. If you can't be there, we'll ask you to stand in your own home or your own church. I ask churches to adopt another church, wake them up, to reach out to a synagogue in your area or a Jewish community center and join arm in arm. We'll be live in Jerusalem on the 24th, and we ask you to join us there or join us virtually if you can. Check out the details at glennbeck.com. Started the program tonight talking to you about what makes America great. What makes America great is that America is good. We can get caught up in the news and think that everything is falling apart, and I got news for you. It is falling apart. And then do the wrong thing and look for someone else to give you a solution. The solution to our problems are the solutions that have always been the solution to problems. And the problems seem to be always the same problems. Our society is headed down a path of the early 1930s in Germany under the Weimar Republic. The society was destroyed through war and turmoil and the collapse of faith in the government and the collapse of faith in churches. In the end, it was hyperinflation. But during that time, while the government was inflating the money, they also pushed everything, pleasure, self-gratification, drugs, everything they could. They made it easier and easier to get the German people into self-gratification. I don't know if you remember the movie Cabaret, but these are the traits that actually had the German people stop being good. It led to the Holocaust. It led people to become selfish and look the other way. We must not allow this to happen to us, and it can if we're not careful. We're seeing it already in Denny's and McDonald's and everything else where we see these beatdowns. We must stop this, especially in our youth. I don't believe in coincidence. A couple of days ago, I had a couple here join me in the studio, and they came from Chicago, and they just wanted to watch the show, and so they did. And they gave me this book. It was given to me as a gift. It's called The Righteous Among Nations. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was at Yad Vashem. That is the Holocaust Memorial, and where they recognize not only the villains but the heroes. This story, The Righteous of the Nations, is the story of the people who helped during the Holocaust. It's by Mordecai Padil, and it documents the men and the women and even the children from not Germany alone, but all over the world and from all different faiths who risked their own lives to stand in the way, stand as a shield, stand and help save the Jews during the Holocaust. These are people who risked everything to save other people, and they are honored and given the title, The Righteous Among Nations. Next Friday, I'm going to be doing a very special show on this topic, and I found out right before I went on the air that Mordecai Padil is going to be joining us, along with people who were saved at that time. When all is said and done, I don't think there is any goal or any award that could be given that would have more significance than the righteous among the nations. That should be our goal. A Founders Fridays, make sure you're watching with your kids, and make sure you DVR Monday's program. You don't want to miss it. From New York, good night, America.